Indiana Jones is an absolute classic, so when the new Indiana Jones game dropped, it was safe to say I was pretty hyped. That hype then turned into despair as I found out that the game won't be dropping on the PS5 anytime soon. But I now had an itch that needed to be scratched, so I decided to platinum the next best thing, Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings. Originally released in 2009 on the PS2, it was recently enhanced and added into the PS5 Classics catalogue, so it was time to grab my trusty whip and jump into the action. We begin our adventure in Sudan, trying to find some ancient treasure before the Nazis can get to it first.
Germans? Why are they here?
Using our whip to traverse the environment, we enter a cave where we must use torches to light our way and burn through some massive spider webs. It is inside this cave we find our first artifact, needing to collect every artifact in each level for a bunch of trophies. We must then cross a very dodgy looking bridge where we get swarmed by hundreds of spiders. Using the torch to fend them off, we accidentally set the bridge on fire. Just managing to make it to the other side, we luckily find a spare torch. Lighting a couple fires to open a secret door, we venture deeper into the cave and find the ancient artifact we were looking for. So grabbing it quickly, we move to get out of the cave, setting off some booby traps along the way. And after performing Indy's signature escape, we get intercepted at the exit by some enemy soldiers, one of whom is Indy's nemesis and former classmate Magnus Voller.
I see you already found what we were looking for. Thank you.
After a heated back and forth, we catch them off guard before making our escape.
Bring him back.
And blocking their exit. More enemies are waiting for me outside, and we get a quick combat tutorial, learning how to punch, use our whip, and pick up items like shovels to bash some heads in. We find another artifact in a nearby tent, and continue beating up enemy soldiers. Indy spots a plane about to take off, and seeing this as our chance to escape, we jump into a nearby vehicle to chase down the plane and hijack it. Using the plane to escape Sudan, here we must make sure to shoot down at least 8 enemy planes to unlock the Ace Archaeologist trophy. And after escaping Sudan, we get the Search Begins trophy. Indy then receives a message from a friend who wants to meet up, claiming to have information about our old professor and mentor who disappeared years ago. He also has information about something called the Jade Sphere. However, our enemies are also seeking this information, so we must get to him first. Heading to San Francisco and arriving in Chinatown to meet him, our friend's granddaughter Susie has been sent to collect us, but she gets kidnapped. Chasing after Susie, we run into some Chinese gangsters. Fighting them all off, we continue after Susie, eventually catching up to them at a secret hideout. Beating up everyone inside, some dude playing the piano guides us through.
If you wish to save her.
But before we get too far, a big buff dude throws us out the window. Using some trash can lids to smack him around, we spot the kidnapper running into a burning fireworks factory. The building starts collapsing and we must fight through more gangsters. Then we get into our first gunfight scenario. Blowing up the balcony and escaping the burning building.
You don't stand
The kidnapper is still on the run. While making chase, I spotted a couple of artifacts, so I made sure to quickly grab those, before gunning down some more gangsters. We eventually catch up to the kidnapper and get into another shootout. And using the environment to our advantage, we electrocute him to death. And miraculously save Susie in the process. With Susie safe, we head to her grandfather's office.
Grandpa hid me in a cabinet.
However, he's gone, and his office has been ransacked.
Asking for something called the Star of the Orient.
Promising to find her grandfather and find whatever this jade sphere was, Susie leaves and we find a secret door leading into an underground store. We spot some more of those gangsters who are already here searching for information. Charging in and taking them all down, we find another secret passage, this time in the form of a roller coaster ride, that takes us down into a giant underground cave with some sort of shipwreck. Believing this to be the shipwreck of the Jade Sphere, we find a way down. And after grabbing another artifact, we make our way inside the ship. The ship is very dodgy and falling apart, but we manage to traverse it before getting caught off guard by a couple more gangsters. At the same time, however, we spot the Jade Sphere not so hidden amongst the crate of cannonballs. So after overpowering the gangsters, we grab the Jade Sphere and make our way back out into the street. It is now daytime, and we see our nemesis Magnus waiting for us with Susie's grandfather Archie.
Give it to me or your friend dies.
Demanding the Jade Sphere, we throw it to him before jumping onto a passing cable car with Archie. Magnus quickly realizes what we threw him was not actually the Jade Sphere, and he chases after us. For some reason, the cable car driver yeets out the side, and now we must shoot down all the oncoming enemy cars. Eventually escaping Magnus's men, Indy decides we best head to the place where Charles first discovered the Jade Sphere, Panama.
Something's going on here. I need to start looking for answers.
We then unlock the Jade Sphere trophy for completing San Francisco. Now in Panama, we try to hire a boat to take us upriver.
Hola, senor.
But a lady called Maggie pretty much tells us to piss off as she hired it first.
Maggie O'Malley, and you can't.
Thankfully, the boat captain is happy to take the both of us. Once upriver, we find another dodgy looking bridge. And of course, we decide to cross it. When, surprise surprise, the bridge collapses. But not before we can swing to safety. Scaling the cliff face until we can reunite with Maggie. We run into some people we can beat up. But we then get caught off guard by a couple of dudes with guns. Maggie then tries to save us with some rocks, accidentally killing me in the process. So trying that again, this time we escape the enemies. When we notice a fire that has broken out. Making our way towards the fire to investigate, we get into a shootout with a few enemies. Arriving at a camp, we spot some guy lighting everything on fire, then running away. Trying to shoot down all the enemies from the high ground, we get sneak attacked and thrown off the edge. So now we must fight by hand. After beating up all the enemies, one of the people we saved gives us a random object before fleeing. Chasing after the Pyro Man, we shoot our way through more enemies, find another artifact, and shoot even more enemies. before catching up with the Pyroman inside a mysterious temple. But we have fallen into the Pyroman's trap, as he ignites a ring of fire around us. And to make matters worse, whenever we get too close, he breathes fire in our face. So we must maintain our distance. This boss took me way longer to beat than I wish to admit, needing to use any nearby rocks lying around to hit him and occasionally catch him off guard with our whip. It is during this battle we unlock the Think Fast trophy for throwing 25 combat items. Many attempts later, we eventually get the better of him by smacking him in the face, which causes him to throw his torch into a box of explosives. Trying to take us down with him, we wrestle free and barely manage to avoid getting crushed. With Pyroman defeated, we make our way further into the temple, finding what seems to be some sort of keyhole designed for that item the random guy gave us. We unlock a secret staircase. So heading down the stairs, we must solve a puzzle to advance into the next room. But just as we advance, the Germans have somehow found our location and ambush us, quickly taking cover and gunning them all down. We scale our way through the temple some more, and beat up a few more Germans, before reaching an area with 3 secret rooms,
I need to get out of here.
each with a lever we must pull before escaping the booby traps that lie within. Once all of these have been completed, we unlock the next room where another puzzle must be solved to advance further into the temple. We reach a door with 2 buttons. One button opens the door, while the other button was supposed to release some tigers or something, and unlocks a trophy.
It looks like someone forgot to feed.
We enter a room where we must dodge boulders rolling around a little arena, all while pressing a bunch of buttons.
2.
Once the last button is pressed, a ball gets thrown into the arena.
This twins lost the game.
Chasing after the ball, we get crushed by the boulders a few times. But once we successfully grab it, we Kobe the ball into a little ring which activates yet another secret door. Grabbing a nearby artifact, we continue to make our way through the temple, climbing and scaling for a while, eventually finding a bridge lined with dragon statues.
A bridge lined by dragon statues.
And on the other side, our way forward starts to slowly
I
close.
don't have an asbestos suit with me.
Running across the bridge while avoiding the dragon flames, we quickly get through before the doors shut. Reaching the final room and placing the jade sphere in its designated spot, we reveal a secret book. And it turns out Maggie has been following us the whole time, without helping. Thanks, Maggie. Turns out the book belonged to our old Professor Charles, and he left it here to keep safe.
Why would he leave that here?
The book talks about something called the Staff of Kings, a staff powerful enough to part the seas.
The seed back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land.
Professor Charles had been searching for it before he disappeared, and now Magnus is after it as well. Hurrying to leave the temple, we get trapped in. Needing to solve another puzzle to escape, we must activate these buttons in the correct order, which is way harder than it looks, I swear. Once the trap has been deactivated, guess who arrives? Magnus. Once again, waiting for me to do all the dirty work just so he can swoop in and collect the goods. Not wanting to hand over the notes, however, we reactivate the booby trap and quickly escape in typical Indiana Jones style. Leaving the temple, we might be able to find more answers in Istanbul. And against Indy's wishes, Maggie declares she's coming with us,
Let me save you some.
unlocking the trophy for completing Panama. So next up, we arise in Istanbul. Looking quite snazzy, I might say. We send Maggie inside to look for clues and meet up with a friend of ours who shows us a secret passage.
Apparently it has something to do with these murals.
However, he doesn't know how to open it. Luckily, opening secret passageways is kind of our specialty, so we get to work. Spotting an artifact straight away, we go and grab it, then get locked out of the way back inside. So needing to find a way back in, we sneak around the building, where we spot some of Magnus's men snooping around. So dealing with the enemies, we then must put a helmet onto this statue's head and get spun into a secret area. Using heavy items to activate a couple of pressure plates, we raise a bridge, grab an artifact, and find another secret button, which reveals a second knight statue in the original room. So now we must need to find 2 more buttons to reveal 2 more statues. Entering the next room, we immediately get into a shootout, gunning down plenty more men. Pushing forward, we just keep running into more and more enemies to shoot down, picking them off one by one. Once everyone is dead, we grab another artifact that is out in the open and find another revolving door. We scale down into some ruins, spotting another artifact. We need to find a way to get to the other side. So pushing this statue off the ledge, we can use the debris to climb up the other side. Face to face with more booby traps, we use the nearby skulls to jam the cogs and allow us to get past. However, the skulls don't last very long, so we have to be quick, which I find out the hard way. Twice. Swinging across to the other side, we are able to drop down and grab the artifact. Continuing through the ruins, we somehow set off yet another booby trap and we have to run for our life. Successfully outrunning the giant slicey contraption, we find the third button and press it. Now only 1 more button remains. Returning to the castle, we end up in a spa room where we must place 3 statues onto these pedestals to open the revolving door. And heading through this door leads us to an elevator, once again taking us down into the ruins. Entering a room and activating a heap of moving parts we must avoid. Needing to go around and disable everything one by one. Clearly timing is not one of my strong suits. We deactivate the machinery, which forms a bridge we can cross to reach the final button. With all the buttons now activated, we should be able to use the secret passageway. Arriving back at the main room, some of Magnus's men are already here waiting. So fighting them before we can continue, we can unlock a trophy here by getting a kill using one of the knight statue's swords. Once the enemies are defeated, we can enter the secret passageway by pushing all of the knights into the middle. Cutting to a cutscene, we see Maggie trying to get close to Magnus. However, Magnus is onto her. Maggie makes a break for it, and Magnus sends his men after her. Switching back to Indy, we trudge our way through plenty of spiders while also avoiding some more booby traps. Making our way through this passage, there are booby traps everywhere. Arriving at some strange contraption with another puzzle to solve, we must swing some chimes around and peek into a bowl of water, which reveals a location.
That's the Bay of Bengal. The Himalayas.
Escaping the secret tunnels, Maggie has arrived on an elephant to help us escape.
Do that.
So tearing up the town on our elephant, we make a mad dash to freedom. After getting clotheslined a couple of times, we then get cut off by some goons trying to gun us down. However, they are no match for our elephant.
Underdressed for that.
And we unlock the trophy for completing Istanbul. Travelling to the Himalayas in Nepal, With the freezing temperatures, we must fight off some snowstorms and make sure to warm ourselves up at every campfire to prevent dying. Scaling the snowy mountains, we bash through an ice wall and get chased by some sort of snow tiger, pulling off our signature escape once again. Climbing back out the top, we get found by none other than our old Professor Charles.
I brought your friend, though.
Maggie.
Maggie is apparently in trouble after getting caught trying to find the Staff of Kings. Charles then panics as he realizes Magnus could have found the staff's location. Now the pressure is on and we must find the staff before Magnus. All of Magnus's men arrive and a shootout begins. Pressing forward while gunning down plenty of enemies, the gunfights eventually end and we get into some more hand-to-hand combat. Once we beat up all the enemies, we grab an artifact that's hidden down below, before ziplining into some dudes with dynamite. And Maggie almost gets blown up. We then get ambushed by more enemies and have another shootout. Escaping into a nearby cave, we spot some German soldiers that are up to no good. So of course we beat them up. We see the Germans trying to blast through the other side of the cave, so knocking them out, we detonate their dynamite and cross a snowy mountain bridge which takes us into another temple. Straight away we spot an artifact, before continuing through the temple, climbing and swinging around, and grabbing a couple more artifacts. We narrowly avoid death a few times, before unlocking this snake contraption and shooting a giant arrow into its face, which opens up a chamber containing a little bush that we now must set on fire. Once the bush is set on fire, we get a trophy for warming ourselves up at every campfire in Nepal. This fire also opening a chamber with a giant statue.
At the river.
Dodging some more traps, we push this basket into position. Opening some doors that lead us to another chamber, where we must melt down the ice and snow to reposition a bunch more statues into their rightful spots. The statues start moving and the Staff of Kings, the item we have been looking for, arises from the ground. We grab the staff, which obviously sets off some booby traps. Sprinting to safety, we run into Maggie,
I was almost hoping.
who apparently works for British intelligence, deciding it's best to destroy the staff so Magnus can't get his hands on it. Guess who just happens to be lurking around?
Of these reunions, I should bury you here in this temple.
Magnus captures Maggie and takes the staff, before trapping us inside the temple. So now we must find a way to escape, save Maggie, and take the staff back. Using an old booby trap to bust a hole in the wall, we're able to use the basket from earlier as a boat, making sure to avoid any rocks, which is way harder than it looks. We go flying off a waterfall, thankfully landing on Magnus's conveniently placed blimp, and unlocking the Staff of Kings trophy for completing Nepal. We get inside the blimp and we are immediately set upon by enemies. Using some controls, we crush everyone with the piano. Then make our way through the blimp, gunning down a whole lot of people, and doing so in incredible style. We infiltrate some kind of lunchroom and beat up everyone inside. We find Maggie in a nearby cell and free her, before finding Magnus chatting to Professor Charles.
I have beaten you, Herr Professor.
Magnus, realizing we are not dead, tries to shoot us, but Professor Charles comes to our rescue.
Charles!
Indy's luck continues, as apparently that was Magnus's last bullet. So using the staff instead, Magnus parts the seas, but in doing so causes us to fall from the blimp, waking up on what appears to be the ocean floor. Magnus tries to escape in a motorbike that happened to be lying nearby. Thankfully there is a second motorbike nearby, and this one has a sidecar for Maggie. While chasing after Magnus, we must make sure to grab a couple of artifacts, unlocking the trophy for grabbing all artifacts in Odin. I don't know why there are so many motorbikes on the ocean floor, but a bunch of Magnus's men arrive in them, so we must shoot them all while also dodging incoming explosives. Whipping a rocket launcher out of absolutely nowhere, we blast Magnus a few times, defeating him and unlocking the trophy for completing Odin. A cutscene plays where we steal the staff back from Magnus and send him falling to his death. Making it back onto proper land, we use the staff to bring down the blimp and return the ocean to normal. And then, as Indy and Maggie are having a moment, the staff transforms into a snake and flees.
It'll take care of itself.
And with that, the story is complete. So now it's time to replay parts of the game to collect any trophies I missed. First things first, we must go into the settings and activate Big Head mode. Then re-enter Sudan. I grab all of Sudan's artifacts for the Nubian History trophy. Then complete the level with the Big Head mode activated, unlocking the Don't Let It Get to Your Head trophy. I then went through and got each chapter's trophy for collecting every artifact. We then must go back and redo the Magnus final battle, making sure to defeat him without taking any damage for the target locked trophy. And finally, once we have collected every artifact, we can go and view all fortunes and concept arts for our final trophy, It Belongs in a Museum, unlocking the King of Archaeology Platinum Trophy for Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and let me know down in the comments below which games you'd like to see me platinum next.